Good morning, everyone. This is our second live stream from Noah's Reef in the Magothy River. We're out here with Maguire Marine Construction as well as some volunteers, expertly placing reef balls built by students throughout the region on a permitted reef site here managed by the Magothy River Association. Mike Maguire is operating the close machine. And you'll see in a moment here, he'll be lifting up a single reef ball, and then Marcus will be placing it along a grid. So underneath of us right now is a grid of reef balls. In previous deployments, there were about 275 in total placed here. 100 in the first year, which was 2021. And then 175 last year, 2023, on St. Patrick's Day. And we have about 170 on the barge today. So these reef balls were built by fourth graders out in Carroll County last school year, as well as some seventh graders at Mount Washington Upper School in Baltimore City, our first Baltimore City school partner, Broadneck High School, the Severn School, and at the Michael Bush Library on West Street in Annapolis last summer. So we've had lots of partners coming together, rolling up their sleeves, mixing concrete so that a reef ball can head down to the bottom and create life for so many different animals in the Chesapeake Bay. We talk about oysters a lot because they are extremely important to the Chesapeake Bay ecology, to our culture, to our history, and to our future. We need oysters out here in higher abundance, filtering our waterways. And attached to oyster reefs, there's also lots of other important animals that we may not think about too much, but they also filter water. Things like barnacles, anemones, sea squirts, and lots of little fish that'll live on these reefs. Crabs also find protection in the reef balls, and they are specifically designed to provide important three-dimensional reef relief. In fact, we have a little friend that just swam up to the surface here. See if you can see him. Wonder if anybody can identify that little fish. I think he just got camera shy. So throughout the day, again, about 170 reef balls will be placed here in a grid. Special thanks to the Smith's Marina crew. These three young men are out here today helping out, and they also use their Hummingbird technology, the side scan technology, to map the bottom here for us. So we understand that we're within the reef permit zone and that we can make sure that we're placing subsequent years across the permit site instead of on top of each other. The permit process for reefs requires a certain clearance for vessel traffic above them. They're always placed well away from navigational channels in areas where there's not conflict with other uses. The permit process is very thorough, and multiple agencies oversee approval of permits of artificial reefs, making sure that the material we're placing has no environmental harm, and also making sure, again, that they're in places where they're not impacting other uses, historical areas, or the bottom in a way that we don't want them to impact the bottom. So these reef balls started as pea gravel, sand, water, and Portland cement. The students in Carroll County learned to mix from scratch, so they understand the different mixing ratios. And that's thanks to the great leadership of Brian Shoemaker, the STEM coordinator in Carroll County, helping nearly every fourth grader in the county be able to build reef balls with us. We couldn't do that work without Mike Campanelli and the team at the Masonry Center. His high schoolers through the Masonry program also build reef balls. They're a little bit larger than the ones you see here in the camera. These are a low profile size, and so we build these with our portable program. Mini Bay is the next size up. We say these are roughly 200 pounds and Mini Bay are roughly 300 pounds. We build them a little thicker and heavier than we have to. And that's largely because we're portable, we're mobile, and we want to make sure these make it out to the water in one piece. So the students that learn to mix from scratch also learn why, if you don't mix it right, they may not come out exactly like you expected. Some do crack, some look a little different than the others, and that's okay. No question that nature's diversity is important, especially on an oyster reef. So every one of these will provide an important home for lots of different animals once they're down on the bottom. So there's a question: are there oysters in the water that will use these as substrate? Yes. And so when oysters spawn, mom and dad are out there on the reef already attached and can't move. Oysters can actually change their sex each year so that they can spawn. And so in the wintertime period, they're just focused on hibernating through the winter, eating when they can, filtering the algae. But the summertime is really when they grow the most, and it's when they grow a gonad and then spawn when water temperatures reach the low 70s. There'll be multiple spawns throughout the summertime period, and it's variable depending on where you are in the Chesapeake Bay. Of course, you need a high density of adult oysters to be able to complete spawning. In our restoration tributaries, the goal is 50 oysters per square meter, and that is considered restored. Of course, we want more than that if we can get it. And sometimes these reef balls are placed in the water with oyster spat already attached. In this case, that is not happening. And the Magothy is definitely an area which has a depressed oyster population, but the Magothy River Association, with lots of great partners, grow oysters on their docks, and then those oysters, as they grow up, will be placed on top of this reef. So these reef balls, it's part of the reason we place them out in a tight grid, and why Mike and his crew is measuring out using these work boats to make sure that they can place the reef balls in a grid and maximize the coverage they provide on the bottom, so that the spat-on shell or the growing oysters that are placed on top of here will have a nice substrate to land on. Then ideally, as they grow up, they spawn, and the spat can attach to these reef balls as well. We do limited monitoring on various reefs, and it's done throughout the world with reef balls, so we know this works. The Tillman Island Reef was the first one that CCA did in partnership with the Chesapeake Bay Foundation. Out at that site, on the southwest corner, there's 4 rows of mini bay reef balls. They were 388 in total, with the majority of them set with spat. And we've seen fantastic growth out of those oysters, and we know that we get natural spat set as well. So again, as the oysters spawn in the water column, the spat will float around for about 2 weeks. They have little cilia, they can swim, they have their 2 shells, they're filtering water, and eventually they stick to a reef after about that 2-week period. So they secrete what is needed to grow their shell and attach to other oysters. There's growing evidence that the sounds which are made by reefs and all the living animals may attract things like spat and other organisms which attach to hard substrate in the bay. And again, everything will spawn and then be free floating and attached to hard substrate like these reef balls. We also have our great friends at the Calvert County Chest Packs program, and every single 5th grader has built reef balls with us now for 3 school years. That was supported by a Chesapeake Bay Trust grant and donors of CCA to match those funds to be able to do the work. Our assistant director, Jesse Howe, has been leading that work in Calvert County, along with the fantastic team from Chest Pack. So shout out to them. Some of your reef balls will be making it in the water later this year in the St. Mary's River Sanctuary. They are staged at CBF's facility in Shadyside right now. And after the middle of June, we'll have clearance based on the permit restrictions to get to work in the St. Mary's River, which is one of the restored tributaries that Maryland committed to. It is one of the 5 restored tributaries that Maryland has been working on for the last decade plus. So we have some reef balls coming soon to St. Mary's County, and we're working on additional permits through the Maryland Artificial Reef Initiative, so that we can identify locations in tributaries just like Noah's Reef, so it can be more accessible to small boats and more individuals, more people, more of the community that's helped build our reefs. So it's a big focus of ours is accessibility, so more people can understand the positive impact that this 3-dimensional habitat provides all throughout the Bay watershed. So you can see it's a lot of repetition here, but we use the dock line, goes down from the excavator, through a reef ball, back up to the excavator, and there's a lot of knot tying and untying. So practice your bowline knot. That's the knot being used here. Very strong knot, easy to tie and easy to untie. I think it's something like the rabbit goes around the tree, out of the hole, or no, out of the hole, around the tree, back through the hole is how you tie a bowline. Also, a big shout out to the Broadneck High School community. We have Grace, a volunteer who's doing her capstone project in her junior year at Anne Arundel County Public Schools, focused on the Living Reef Action campaign. So she's already produced a video and is doing more work to share this work with her fellow students and her community. She's on the other end of the barge now. Shout out to her teacher, Stacy Roth, who's leading so many different positive environmental efforts at the school with lots of her colleagues and fellow students. And later in the month of May, we will be building reef balls at Broadneck. And so if you're in the Annapolis area and you're interested in volunteering, that will be May 20th, 21st, and 23rd. Reef ball building is a 2-day activity with our program. We lay out the molds, work in teams to get them ready, and then work in teams to mix the concrete. And then on the second day, we remove the molds, something we call hatching. We remove the rubber balls, which make the holes in the reef balls, and then take them to a storage location like Cypress Marine, who has been a fantastic donor. Alan and his team at Cypress Marine have allowed us to stockpile a lot of these reef balls there. So we keep them in the community until they're ready to go in the local waterways, which we couldn't do without a fantastic local business partner like Mike Maguire, Maguire Marine. If you need any sort of waterfront work, docks, piers, shorelines, etc., Mike and his team have fantastic equipment, which you can see, and are ready to get to work for you here in the region.
I want to make sure, man. What's wrong? There's a knot in it. Like, let's move balls and talk later. We got turned into chaos. I got James teaching over there. Knot.
As you can see in the distance, the gap in the trees there is the mouth of the Magothy River. On the right side is Pedickery Point. On the left side, Gibson Island. Far off in the distance is the eastern shore, Kent Island, just north of the Bay Bridge. And you'll see here as I rotate the camera, there is Dobbins Island. So this reef site, we're in about 15 feet of water, just south of the west edge of Dobbins Island. So again, you'll see what the reef balls are made of here. You can see this one with the pea gravel showing a little bit more. That rough surface is really good for attachment of animals. You can imagine how many of these small microscopic larval animals can attach to this. And again, this is sand, gravel, Portland cement, and water. These have been aged to maximize their strength. Here are some oyster-sized reef balls, smaller ones. These were built by Mount Washington. Here we have the other barge at work. Say hi, Grace. Bowling? Fantastic. Grace just tied her first bowline. Also, kudos to our friends at Angle Coolers. Maguire Marine's barges now have 2 brand new Angle Coolers, thanks to our partners at Angle. Gotta keep these hardworking folks hydrated. You can't get any better than Angle Coolers, the original high-performance cooler. Also, we couldn't have gotten these reef balls into place today without Cosentino Construction helping us out. Thank you to Chris and his team for trucking about 110 reef balls down from Carroll County on Monday. Maybe it was Tuesday. Got a great Yamaha motor back there. Another fantastic partner through Yamaha Right Waters. Their program continues to support the Living Reef Action Campaign and our ability to do this work throughout our watershed.
And then back to the top of the rabbit hole. There you go.
There you go. There's the bowling knot. We were giving lessons live stream before.
Oh. Okay.
All right. Let's get clear. All right, we lost everyone for a little while there. So what is the minimum depth Mike needs to access a spot with his barge? Mike can come in and do shallow work right up against the shoreline with these barges. You can see these pilings laying here, that's for another project. So whether it's a rock shoreline, a living shoreline, pilings, docks, piers, Maguire Marine can get in there and take care of this work. Whatever you may need along the waterways. It's also an important note with all the reefs that we deploy in the Chesapeake Bay, we always have a licensed marine contractor handling that work. And the state has approved our ability to do this work. We also have a fantastic partner at Maryland DNR, with the MARI program, the Maryland Artificial Reef Initiative. Mike Malpezzi, who oversees a lot of reef work that we do elsewhere throughout the bay. We do have a reef staging right now in Tangier Sound. And make sure you check out the Ocean City Reef Foundation. They've donated us reef ball molds and reef pyramids that you've seen deployed. And Captain Monty Hawkins is a tremendous champion of nearshore habitat and continues to organize a fantastic team in Ocean City. They have a reef fundraiser this weekend, and if you check out Ocean City Reef Foundation, give it a search, follow it on all the different socials. And I guarantee you can find a donate button or a great way to win some prizes through their raffles that they do throughout the year. So thank you to our friends down in Ocean City, creating great habitat for anglers and for nearshore ecology in Ocean City. We all know fishing and boating drives so much economic opportunity and has so much value to those of us who are fortunate enough to live by the water and access it. At CCA, our focus is ensuring the health of our resources and anglers' access to them. So go fishing, get involved, join us. All right, folks, well, thanks for following along. Sorry if we had a little technical glitch in this video, but we're out here getting this work done. And it won't be long until you'll be getting the numbers so you can get out here and go fishing. Thank you, Mike.